These toys that we have on the exhibit are really something that we want people to look at because they're great craftsmanship, they're very creative, but we don't want to forget that they were also played with. And it's very interesting to think of the toys in terms of if a child got one of these, what would they do with them? These were meant for play. They were a business and the toy sellers were involved in it, but ultimately it was the children who were playing with them. And it's fun to think about. This is sort of the one relic of childhood that we have that speaks very much to the childhood at that time period. So it's fun to sort of keep that in mind as you look through the exhibit. In Germany, there were areas that were heavily forested, and there were a lot of people who made their living off of getting the wood and using it for various things, and toys became sort of a natural for that area. It was families who were making these toys in these small towns, not in the large cities, but in these smaller towns. Each individual household would be involved in some aspect of the toy making, whether it was carving the toy, painting the toy, sanding a toy. Just one little aspect of it is where a lot of these came from. The Noah's Ark is really sort of the iconic German toy. There are a lot of collectors today who really seek those out, and they're wonderful. They come in sizes anywhere from just a few inches to 24 to 27 inches long for the arks, and they come with multiple animals. Our ark is about the 25-inch ark, and it has about 120 pair of animals. Since they were making their money off these toys, they definitely found ways to try and make them as quickly as possible, because the quicker they made them, the more they could make, the more they would get. And so they developed an interesting way of making some of the animals that usually were found in the arks and some of the other play sets. They took a section of the trunk of a tree and sanded that out and then put it on a lathe and created rings that had grooves in them. And the grooves were in particular places, and then once they removed the ring and started slicing it, you found that that created a particular animal. And out of one of these rings, they could make about 60 of the same animals. A lot of the toys, when you look at them, especially in the toy catalog, you look at all of these static images and wonder, how much play did you get out of this toy? And then you realize that it might be sitting on a box that has a little crank. So then when you turn that crank, what does the toy do? And we have one where it's a soldier who walks in and out of his little sentry house. Or you have the animals that are sitting on these leather bellows. And again, when you push that, all of a sudden the wings flap and the sound comes out. So you look at them and you're not sure what they're going to do, and then you do that little movement to them and they sort of come alive. Mechanical toys are becoming very popular at the end of the 19th century, where they're very elaborate. And there's some people who start to argue the fact that those are taking away the imaginative power of children, so that the simple toys like a Noah's Ark or the animals are better for kids because they can use their imagination more. Since Germany was really making a lot of the toys, there was the question of how did they get to any other part of the world, but in America in particular, being so far away, especially in the early part of the 19th century, things could take 4 to 6 months to get here. So how do you pick what you really want? And the toy sellers and toy makers developed these toy catalogs that featured drawings that were then engraved and hand-colored. And the toy catalog that we have features over 2,000 toys in it.